All right, you guys ready to roll? Yeah. Okay. So, man, that's a bright light. I'm going to do this way. Okay, this is better. So, I'm excited you guys are here tonight. This is going to be a topic that's really complicated, and it scares a lot of people. And my goal is to take this complicated topic and simplify it and bring confidence into you guys, because memorizing 1,000,000 chemicals is not fun, yeah? But here's the thing is we're inundated with so much of this on a day-to-day basis. So this is why we're here tonight, is because this is affecting our health on a massive scale. And there's a lot of simple ways to take this big, scary concept and then make it applicable and make it easy, okay? So if you had a chance to scan this, this is going to be my team and I put together an incredible packet of healthy swaps to make this easy. If you did not get a chance, it'll be in the back there for you on the back end. So let's rock and roll. Okay, here's why we do these seminars. Just so you guys know, as a chiropractic office, why we do these seminars. Number one is, as this office, our vision and our mission for our whole community is to really help you guys embody empowerment over your health. And I think that what happens in our culture is that gets stripped away. That we strip people away from empowering themselves to understand what health is and how to take control of their own health. And our big vision is this. I'll be honest with you guys. My prayer is that you guys learn how to take such a proactive approach with your health that you get to divorce the medical model. That you get to take a huge paradigm shift to where, imagine the difference for you guys here, your children, your family, if from this day forward you never needed to take another medication, never needed another shot, never needed to go to the doctor ever. I mean, how awesome would it be if we could be so proactive that that's a possibility? And I think that doesn't get ever preached to anybody. We were always told that, no, you were made broken. God made you messed up. You need drugs to be surviving. Does that make sense? This is what we're told. And I think it's a bunch of, yuck. Let's say that. So here's the thing. This is why chiropractic, this quote right here is literally from the guy who created chiropractic. And what's amazing about this, he defines the two biggest differences between medical system and the chiropractic profession. Here's two big differences right here. While other professions are concerned with changing the environment to suit the weakened body, this is what they say, that the body was made weak, so we need to change the environment, do everything we can to the environment to change it. Chiropractic is concerned with strengthening the body to suit the environment around you. This is so big. Everything we do, we empower ourselves, we make decisions to strengthen our body to suit the environment that we're walking into, and we don't do it the other way around. We don't believe we're weak. We believe we were made perfect in God's image, and now we stand in that firmly. Amen? Okay, so as we go from here, this is a philosophical principle from chiropractic that, and this was written in 1895, that the three things that will cause destruction to your health are thoughts, traumas, and toxins. Now, we can phrase them differently, and we can phrase them to say physical, chemical, emotional stress. Okay? Now, physical, chemical, emotional stress are the three things that for the rest of our lives, unfortunately, are going to be acting upon our health, right? This is why toxins need to be talked about. Most times when you talk about your health, we always like to talk about emotional stress. We like to talk about physical trauma, like posture. Those are like the sexier things to talk about. No one really likes to talk about the chemicals. No one likes talking about the toxic exposure. And I would say that back in 1895, this wasn't as important. It wasn't as apparent. Today, we are like suffocating in an environment of chemicals and toxicity. We're going to walk through that tonight, okay? So toxins is going to be a big thing that we're going to unveil tonight. So on average, 700,000 chemicals a day we are walking and exposed to. And this number, by the way, is the number if you're mindful and avoiding chemicals. If you are in the dark and tonight you're like, I don't really know anything and I'm here just to learn all of it, it's about 2.1 million chemicals. That's the range. And this is why it's like we have to be aware of what's going on. Now, I want to bring a little bit of peace to your mind and understand this. If this is what we're up against every single day, is it realistic to be so afraid and stressed about chemicals all day long? No. I do not want, my goal is to not make you guys walk out of here fearful that there's so many chemicals that you just give up. But the goal is to say, what are the areas and the things that I can control? Where I can make a divine difference, and then act upon that. And here's the thing, my wife and I, we've learned a lot over the last 10 to 12 years, and we do the very best we can to avoid chemicals in all the areas we're going to talk about tonight. And guess what? Everything else that's out there that I can't control the pollution that's coming out of people's cars, and I can't control certain things, whoop, I let it go. It gives no skin on my back because I control all the things that I can, I let the rest go. So tonight, we're going to teach you what can you control, so the empowerment comes in right there. What can you control, and let's control those things, okay? So, I got to walk you through this. So when you think of 700,000 chemicals, I don't know about you guys, but when I first saw that number in my mind, I'm thinking, that's a lot of freaking chemicals. Where are these coming from, And I think where this gets missed is because we can see bad posture, we can see that kind of things. We can't see a lot of the chemicals. So if you can't see it, then a lot of times you don't pay attention to it. So I'm going to walk you through, this is just like a small number of things that you're exposed to before you even leave the house to go to work, okay? So imagine from the moment you wake up, most people, again, not everybody here, but most people are sleeping on a toxic mattress that's been sprayed with flame retardants, and you're breathing that in all night long. The sheets that you're sleeping on were washed in detergent that has toxic chemicals that you're breathing in all night long. Then you wake up and you go to the bathroom and you go to brush your teeth with toothpaste laced with fluoride. Then you go to wash your face with water that's full of chlorine and fluoride. Then you go to get a drink of water. Again, unless it's filtered, is typically toxic water. Then we have soaps and shampoos that are laced with chemicals that we're lathering in our body in a hot shower with our pores wide open, and we're lathering all that stuff in. Then maybe you're using shaving cream or aftershave, rubbing it in with our nice pores nice and open. If you're a woman or maybe a man, I don't know, putting on makeup and you're putting that on right there, you're putting this on, and my wife's going to touch on this. When you guys hear the amount of toxins in the makeup that's out today, your jaw's going to drop, okay? There's makeup, there's hair gel, there's hairspray, there's deodorant with aluminum inside deodorants, and there's a chemical called propylene glycol, okay? Look up propylene glycol when you're looking at deodorants, and propylene glycol is a byproduct of antifreeze. And they put this as a preservative inside most deodorants. So there's that. Then move on to coffee. This was my wife and I's biggest takeaway last year when we did this seminar. Coffee. I'm not going to make you guys raise your hands, but in last year, I remember making this seminar last year, and my coffee pot was there. I'm heating up my coffee, and we're getting ready, and all of a sudden I'm looking at the coffee pot, and I'm thinking, oh my God. I'm boiling water in a plastic container, and I'm leaching all of the chemicals of the plastic inside that water. Then I'm filtering it right into my coffee, and I'm sitting there drinking a nice cup of Chemical Joe. And this is where the coffee you're drinking, not even just the coffee beans that are probably toxic, but the way we make it becomes toxic. Then you fast forward to breakfast. What does breakfast look like? Are we loading ourselves with Pop-Tarts and cereal and all the fun things that most people do? And I'm going to get to this in a minute, but I'm going to tell you guys that there is no such thing as kids' breakfast and adult breakfast. There's just breakfast. There's just food that's whole that you feed yourself and your kids. There's no such thing as needing to feed our kids gummy bears and Gushers for breakfast because they won't eat an egg. I'm gonna speak some things tonight. It might happen. Then we go what are we making for lunch? Are we giving our kids Lunchables that have 1,000 ingredients inside this package that's all processed and no real food? Are we packing their food in plastic containers that they're going to be now sitting in their hot backpack leaching chemicals in? Then we look at all the air fresheners we have plugged around the house that we're walking around smelling. You better not. Now here's the thing. All of these guys, this is literally before you've even left the house, right? We haven't even gotten into the day yet. And what we've found is that our home has become like 100 times more toxic than the outside environment. And we're bathing in it in our home. So the idea is that we have to start making some changes, okay? So I use this bucket analogy. This is my favorite analogy to help people understand this. when you think about your body, this is what's so cool. God created our body to have this balance system to where, thank God, every time you come across a chemical, you didn't get sick and fall apart, right? Like your body has the ability to adapt and to work with itself. So now think of this as your threshold. Your bucket is every time you get exposed to chemicals and toxins, you start filling your bucket. Every time you do things to detox yourself and get toxins out, you empty your bucket. The problem is this, when your bucket gets overfilled and starts overflowing, the overflowing of your bucket is where we start seeing symptoms come across. This is where sickness and disease come across. Most of us are living with an overflowing bucket. And I'm going to say something over and over and over again tonight. You cannot out-detox a toxic lifestyle. Okay? There's no point in detoxing if you're just going to retox. It does not make sense to work so hard and pay all this money on fancy stuff to empty your bucket if your lifestyle is not going to change and all you're doing is going to pour it right back in the bucket. Does that make sense? That's probably going to land with somebody tonight. So you got to make sure that our goal is to empty this bucket as much as we can. Or again, life is a game of balance. I'm going to do things that I can't control that's going to fill my bucket, but there's proactive things I can do to empty my bucket. So a lot of the things that are filling your bucket, where you're going to see symptoms now, or what you're going to see that look like, comes across in all of these different things. All of these symptoms are ways. I know. Let me see who picks up on that one. You guys saw it. You guys catch it? This is definitely a toxicity. Husbands not listening to their wives. It's a symptom. So just forgive us all. But these are all things that can happen when our body becomes toxic. Reason why I brought this puppy up. So, do you guys know that when we become toxic, toxins get stored in fat cells? A lot of times, people struggle with weight loss resistance, where they say, I just have trouble losing weight. If your body is overly toxic, toxins can get stored in fat cells, and then you become less able to lose fat or burn fat because you're overly toxic. This is why when we do our detox system, I'm going to talk about this later, but when we do our detox system, a lot of people will just start losing weight just off getting their body detoxed because you're shedding the toxins out of the fat cells. That's another big piece. So a lot of these things you're going to see. Now, where are these things typically coming? There it goes. Now, here's where we have to be mindful, is that unfortunately, our culture is not telling us the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. What's happening is a lot of stuff is marketed, and it's marketed as safe, and it's marketed to be well, but it's significantly unhealthy. So when you start looking at some of this stuff, the biggest thing that comes to my mind when I talk about this one is the first thing, and I had a long talk with some friends about this, but I'm going to use fluoride, okay? Popular one. Fluoride, whatever your belief is, has been classified by the American Journal of Medicine as a neurotoxin, okay? It is what it is. It is a neurotoxin. A neurotoxin is classified as something that can cross the blood-brain barrier and now have a direct toxic effect on your brain. Okay. So, if that's the case, my common sense says that we should avoid fluoride, right? But what doctors will say is that it's okay because the amount of fluoride in toothpaste or in the water is such a small amount, there's no way that could cause any harm to anybody, so it's okay. I don't know about you guys who have little kids. When we teach my kids to brush his teeth, as much as I tell him just to brush his teeth, he's like sucking down the toothpaste and swallowing every bit of it, right? You brush your teeth twice a day, every single day. You drink water all day long. That's a lot of fluoride getting in your body. And here's my other thing, and this is just my common sense. This is just not my doc. This is just my Mike thinking for a second, is that I don't care how small it is. If there's a neurotoxin inside the water, I don't want that in my body, let alone my children's body. Does that make sense? So I don't care how less it is. That's like me saying, hey, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of meth and cocaine in your smoothie. Just a little bit. Can't affect you. Don't worry about it. And we're going to do that every day, twice a day for the rest of your life. You're like, get lost. That's not going to happen. So anything that's that toxic should not go in the body. This is why you got to be aware of what's in the water, and you got to be aware of what's in your toothpaste, which we're going to talk about as we go. So being aware of the chemicals is huge. I keep pointing over there. It's over here. Now, where are all the toxic hotspots? These are the main areas that you want to be aware of when you're looking at your home, when you're looking at your lifestyle. These are the things that you can actively control, okay? All these things. So, personal care products, we're going to go through that. Household cleaners, plastics, and I'm going to say plastics / microplastics. My wife's going to just talk about microplastics and the devastating effects of that. Making sure your air and your water are clean, overuse of pharmaceuticals, EMFs, and technology. I'm just going to say this. We're not going to go into a lot of this one tonight, but I'm going to say, ladies, please stop putting your cell phone in your bras. There is so much heat and EMFs coming off of those cell phones. Stop putting them in your bras. Guys, quit putting them in your front pockets. You're just radiating all the privates. Okay? We got to get those phones away from the privates as much as possible. Okay? Think about this. Seriously, though. You guys have grabbed your phone, and you know how hot that phone is? It is putting off some serious stuff. So keep the phones away from there. Food, we're going to obviously talk about food. And who thought about toxic relationships? Man, oh man. This one, again, we'll save this for the end. But toxic relationships, I'm just going to say this. Sometimes there are people in your life that are creating toxicity. Sometimes there's people in your life that you need to detox yourself from. Friends, family, I'm just going to throw that out there. Like, there are people that you need to make sure if they are a toxicity to your life, either a conversation has to get made or there needs to be an action step to make sure that we avoid that, because otherwise, if you leave the toxic person in your life, that is the same thing as retoxing yourself. Okay? Again, that goes back to the emotional stress that's never leaving your body. Okay? Okay. 5 steps to terminating toxins. These are 5 kind of hit home points we're going to hit tonight. Number 1 is reducing big pharma, I call it. We're going to cut processed foods out. We're going to navigate the home. We're going to stop becoming so stressed. Just don't be stressed. Who got stressed just by me saying that, right? And then the last thing is keeping your spine aligned. We're going to talk about how does spinal alignment help your body detox. So here's my big first point, reducing big pharma. This is, in my opinion, where you got to start. And here's the reason why. The moment our kids are born in our country today, what's the first thing that happens? They get shot with vaccines. They get antibiotics rubbed inside their eyeballs. They get a vitamin K shot that's not actually vitamin K, FYI to people. It's a black label synthetic blend of a vitamin K. So a lot of chemicals have gone into your children before they even make it home. Then you take that, and I'm going to read off some stats for you guys, but you look at what this does. This creates a toxic load in their bodies right away. Then all of a sudden, our kids have a weakened immune system, so now we start seeing ear infections. We start seeing them get sick. When they get sick in an ear infection, we take them to our doctor, and then they get given what? Antibiotics. 9 times out of 10, an ear infection is going to be a viral infection, but for some reason, we give them antibiotics. An antibiotic destroys your gut microbiome, which is where your immune system lives. So if I give a child an antibiotic, not let alone multiple antibiotics in their young life, you've now damaged their gut, which is responsible for hormone production and immune function, and you wonder why our kids are chronically getting sick. And you wonder why they can't regulate their emotions very well, is you've just damaged the whole area that creates and regulates those things. So then take that, now go into adults. Chronic pain, do you know, I'm going to just read this off. This is going to blow you guys away. I pulled these numbers. So in our country, 7 million children are now on ADHD drugs. 7 million kids are on a combined anxiety and depression drugs. And these two numbers are like 18 years and under, okay? 1 in 4 kids are given antibiotics. FYI, 70,000 kids every year end up in the ER due to an antibiotic reaction. 70,000 kids every single year. 78 doses of vaccines are now given before the age of 18. When most of us were kids, it was like 10 to 15 to maybe, my generation was 24. Now it's 78. 78 doses of vaccines. The average person in our country today is on 13 prescription medications. The U.S. takes 90% of the opioids in our country, in our world. That's like Oxycontin, strong stuff. We take 90% of it in this country. The US makes up 5% of the world's population, and yet we stand here and take 80% of the world's prescription drugs. Do you see why this is my first point? Now, processed foods. This is the second biggest monster that we're up across right now. There are people with the job title of food scientists, okay? There are food scientists, and their job is to take food and add whatever chemicals they can to alter the texture and alter the addictive craving to make you want to continue to buy more, continue to eat more. So when you eat certain foods, there are certain parts of the brain that light up on a scan, okay? The addictive parts of your brain will light up on a scan. What these people do is they go through tests and they say, I don't care what the effect of the body is of this chemical, but I want to know, what can I put to make you crave it more and make you want to buy it more? Why do you guys think the worst foods for us, we just can't stop and want more of them? Our kids, again, they know, you can tell them, this is terrible for you, and they go, but I just need to have it. It's because the chemicals in there are damaging their brain and altering this effect. Like, there's literally chemicals that's their sole job, and we're putting these in our bodies. So, got to get away from doing that. So, what are some of these top ones? I'm going to read because I wrote some really specific for you guys here. Okay, so with food dyes, this is a huge one for all of us, but again, mostly kids. Food dyes. So a study from UC Berkeley and UC Davis confirmed that food dyes have a direct link to ADHD and neurological decline. Food dyes. Food dyes include, you've seen things like on the back of a label, I put this, it's kind of hard to read, but on a Gatorade bottle, you'll see things like red 40. In certain things, you'll see like yellow 5, all this stuff. So yellow, yeah, blue, I mean, all these colors. Whenever you see a color, run away from it, okay? There's a color in the ingredient list, put it back. So you'll see things like yellow 5 and yellow 6. Those are directly linked to kidney and intestinal tumors. Red 3 and red 40 to thyroid tumors and ADHD. And what's interesting is that the red 40 specifically is banned in the UK and Europe, most places. Most of these chemicals, FYI, are banned in most countries, but yet we soak it up here in our country, okay? Artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose. You're going to see these in a lot of diet sodas. You're going to see them in a lot of teas. You're going to see sucralose in a lot of protein powders. One of the biggest reasons why I back our stuff up as much as we can is because most protein powders are laced with sucralose, an artificial sweetener. An artificial sweetener like sucralose and aspartame have a direct cancer risk link, and they lead to things like Alzheimer's and dementia because artificial sweeteners come up and pass the blood-brain barrier, aka neurotoxin. So we want to avoid things like sucralose and aspartame. Then we have GMO. Obviously, we all know that GMO is not good. Big link of GMO is overdose of GMO can lead to nerve damage and cardiovascular issues. Refined oils. This is another one that I talk about in our nutrition seminars, but refined oils are things like canola oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, vegetable oil. FYI, there's not, just because it says vegetable oil, it's not good for you, okay? If you grew up in my house, it was like Crisco. Like, a lot of these things that happened when I grew up. And all of these oils are very, very, very unhealthy. These are the things that have direct links to diabetes and heart disease, and obviously obesity, these kind of things. So when your body cannot understand what it is and can't process it, this is how we start to fight against it. So your body creating tumors and creating sickness is your body trying to rebel against the synthetic fake foods that we're putting in it constantly. Does that make sense? Okay. And then another one, I got them all. Colors, sweeteners, packaged foods. Good. Packaged food, this is where you're going to find a lot of the oils. So watch out for the oils in packaged foods. Like I was at Costco the other day, and it's frustrating because you'll walk around, you'll see something that says organic, or you'll see that says grass-fed, or it'll say healthy taglines. You turn it over, and the main ingredient that it's doused in is a toxic refined oil. So you got to watch out for the oils that things are being made with. Okay? Next. Whoop. This is one of my favorite sayings that I feel like I have to talk about is you are not destined by your genes. So your genes load the gun, meaning that here's the thing. Why I talk about this is this. Most people drives me crazy when I hear people say, well, I have X because my mom had it and it runs in my family. I have obesity, I have it. Like we label ourselves with this, like we own it. We say, I have blank because it runs in my family. Here's what the science shows. Science shows this, 5% of all conditions are a genetic true condition. That means that 95% of the health conditions we have, you can fix it. It's a lifestyle-induced thing. That's fantastic, right? Because that means that 95% of the things that are out there, you can fix it. We can change our lifestyle and we can change it. So here's the thing, the gene loads the gun. How my parents made me, there's a certain genetic makeup that I was given. Does that make sense? I was given a certain genetic makeup. However, the expression of my genes, I can alter that by my lifestyle. So what I say is your lifestyle pulls the trigger. What that means is that the way that I live my life, I can turn on and activate certain genes, or I can turn off and suppress certain genes. Just because my dad had heart disease, and his dad had heart disease, and his dad had heart disease, all true story, by the way, just because that lineage happened does not mean that I have to have heart disease. Just because my mom had cancer does not mean I'm going to have cancer. Just because my family has X does not mean that I have to have X. So we need to stop owning and labeling some of these things that have been put on us and know that there is a certain empowerment that you have over how you live your life, and this is why your lifestyle is such an important thing we have to change. Cool? Like that. Okay, how do we do this? We switch by more God-made food, less man-made food. If you just soaked up that right there, that simplifies all of it, right? And I tell people, is generally speaking, if you're looking at your nutrition and if it's food that came from the earth, it's probably going to be good for the most part. Don't get me wrong. If man has got a hold of it and started lacing it with stuff and coating it in stuff, there's where it gets messed up. If it gets built in a factory, it's probably not going to be good for you. So we start looking at this stuff. Where I would say you would be safe is looking at grass-fed, grass-finished meats, looking at pasture-raised chicken and eggs, wild-caught fish, organic fruits and veggies. Eliminate your refined, processed carbs and sugar. Carbs aren't the enemy. I'm going to throw that out there. How freeing is that, by the way? Carbs are not the enemy. Refined, toxic carbs are the enemy. Eating bleached white bread and pasta is not good and absorbable by the body, right? But it's what's so funny. There's this really fun trend right now. Most of my wife and most of my staff, I think all of them, they all make homemade sourdough bread from scratch. They all have starters, and there's an abundance of sourdough in my office, and I love it. But again, it's a live, if you look at the process of making sourdough, it's a live enzyme that you actually have to feed and keep alive. Kind of crazy when she's like, I got to feed the starter. I'm like, it's kind of interesting. But it's a live thing, right? And again, when you're making sourdough bread, your body can absorb it and you don't feel sick after because you're like, oh my God, this is real food. So making sure you're consuming real food is a very, very big start. Boom. Toxic bioaccumulation. I've been talking about this actually all week long with people. Toxic bioaccumulation. Most of us know that there's no such thing as perfection with food, right? We're not going to eat perfect all the time. There's most of us talk about the 80-20 rule and stuff like that. Eat good 80% of the time, have your cheat meals 20% of the time. Most people are living in reverse. Most of us are eating toxic 80% of the time, and we celebrate when we have the once in a while good piece of meat and salad or something, right? So the problem is this. You have to understand is that I'm going to be vulnerable and tell you guys, just for me, I lived an extremely toxic life the first 25 years of my life. From the moment I was born to about 25 years old, it was a very toxic, all the horrible food you can imagine. I lived on ibuprofen and antibiotics because that's just what we did growing up. So 25 years of my life was very toxic. I've been doing things really good for 8. So the idea is this. There has been a bioaccumulation of a greater toxicity in my lifespan So just because I've been doing really good things for 8 years, I've been doing it wrong for 25. Do you guys see how my scale is going like this? So I have to have grace for myself, number one. You have to have grace for yourself that now that you're making good changes, that's fantastic. But just know that like if you're not seeing your health turn around instantly overnight, understand that you have grace because your scale is just probably going like this. You've done too many years of bad. So as we work on our journey of doing this, just know there's been a greater accumulation of bad and we have grace for ourselves. So, are we good with that? Okay. Also, the other piece of this that is a big one is I need you guys to change. We need to change what the minimum standard is for the 20%. Here's what I mean by that. When for us and my family, when we cheat on the 20%, my cheating is like an organic grass-fed piece of ice cream. Like ice cream that's like the cleanest ice cream I could find. That's my thing. My 20% is not me going and choking down McDonald's. Does that make sense? The 20%, your cheat. You got to raise the bar a little bit. Raise your standard. Your cheat cannot be the worst of the worst. The cheat needs to be, hey, I'm going to, for us, we'll find, trying to think of something else. She'll make, again, this is something me and Morgan talked about this, is that my wife makes cinnamon rolls from sourdough. Granted, probably shouldn't have those every single day. But when I do, you better believe I'm going in on my 20%. That's my 20%. So you got to understand, we got to make sure that our 20% cannot be horrible, horrible food that your body isn't going to recognize and think that, oh, it's okay, I only did it once. We got to raise the bar with that. Can we agree to that? Okay. Now, regenerative farming versus, who's heard of this, by the way? Anybody? Okay, a few people. Okay, so here's where this is good. Why we talk about this. So modern day farming has completely depleted our soil. Have you guys heard how the food today is not as nutrient dense as it used to be? This is what's happening, is that because of what we've done to the soil, we've depleted all the nutrients out of the soil. So the nutrients of an apple today is not what it used to be a long time ago, okay? So we have to, right now, there's this movement to fix the soil. So whenever you see regenerative farming, that's basically, they're trying to reculture the soil to make it more nutrient dense to help the food, which is, again, what's awesome is, so Max Living is now changing over. You're going to see the labels are different now. We're making it different. We've partnered with a couple farms in Tennessee and Texas to move towards regenerative farming. So all of our supplements are coming from regenerative farms. That's a really cool thing, okay? So keep that in mind. So this is one thing we got to watch out for to help our bodies move in the right direction. Top detoxifying nutrients. So there are a couple of things that are going to be really strong detoxifiers. And these are the things you want to put in your body every so often. So I'm going to read some of these off because these are cool. Magnesium oxide basically helps free radicals. So it helps neutralize free radicals. You got things like chlorella. Boop. Those are helping to fix damaged cell walls. So when you eat damaged things, it breaks the cell wall down. This helps to repair the cell wall. Psyllium husk is a really good fiber that helps your body eliminate toxins. Activated charcoal. This is a really strong component that binds to toxins and then helps you eliminate toxins out. That's a really good one. And then I even added bone broth because in bone broth protein specifically, it helps the production of glutathione. Glutathione is one of your body's main detoxifiers, right? So having bone broth or bone broth protein are really good ways to increase glutathione in the body and help the body heal. So here's all these guys. Here's what's really cool. All those things are inside our detox system. So the reason why I like our detox system is this. Really simple. It's so simple. It's just that. Like most detoxes, you got to change your diet in really crazy ways, and you got to do all these things. It's simple. It's two parts. There's a morning pill. There's a night pill. The morning pill is pulling the toxins out of your cell. The night pill is pulling the toxins out of your body. So when you take this, I'm going to just answer the question now. You're not going to start getting diarrhea. You're not going to do all the weird stuff, okay? Doesn't happen. But it does help you become regular because now your body is pulling toxins out of your body. One of the easiest ways to detox that's gentle but strong is using the cell detox to get started. It's a really simple way. Cool? So tonight we're going to sell, this is on sale. All of our stuff tonight is on sale because you're here. We always do that. So we get 10% off anything that we have tonight. And then, now you get the fun stuff. Now, Dr. Alanna's going to come in, talk to you guys about the home. It was funny, someone asked me, what cleaner do you use and what soaps? And I was like, whatever she puts in the home. That's what I use. So tonight, you're going to hear from the boss herself.
Okay. Yes, the home. I feel like I could do like an entire seminar just on this part. So I'm going to try to go through it like pretty quickly. But if you guys have any questions afterwards or like random things you're thinking of that I didn't cover, just let me know. And you can talk to me afterwards. Okay, so the home. We are exposed to so many toxins, like Dr. Mike was saying, in our home, even more so than the outside air, which is pretty crazy when you start researching all the pollutants in the outside air. But the good part is there's a lot we can do to change that. So 2 tips real quick if you guys are writing things down. While you can, open your windows. In the mornings when it's cool, get some fresh air into your house. Air is just so stagnant sometimes in our homes. And this is a little bit more difficult in the summer, obviously here, but while you can, while the weather's still nice and cool in the mornings, open your windows, get some fresh air in. And then the second easy thing is just to have more live plants in your house, okay? If I can keep them alive, so can you, okay? So just do your best with it. And if they die, you just get another one. Do your best. Snake plants, have you guys heard of those? Those are actually pretty easy to keep alive. You only have to water them like once a month.
What's that called?
A snake plant. I forget that like actual name, but snake plant. So like Dr. Mike said, it can be super confusing with how many toxins there are. So I'm going to try to make it very simple and break it down into just 3 areas of your home where most toxins are found. So the first one we're going to talk about is our bathroom. So the bathroom is likely loaded with different types of toxins that we're exposed to. The first one I'm going to mention are cleaners. So even if you aren't doing the cleaning, there's cleaning chemicals that are coming off of everything in your bathroom. So we're going to go over some swaps for that. But one of the reasons why chemicals or cleaners are bad is because of the phthalates and the fragrances and ammonia that are in them. And we have some pretty cool options nowadays that are much gentler on us, but still do just a good job of cleaning things, right? And it's still nice and clean, especially in the bathroom. Cosmetics is a huge one for women out there. This is something, we're literally putting on our face every single day. And some of these cosmetics that we're using have things like formaldehyde in them or lead, carcinogens, which are cancer-causing chemicals. But again, great news, there is a lot of amazing lines out there, and we'll go through some of them, that you can switch and they still work just as well. So shampoos, conditioners, those are huge, face wash, soaps, hairsprays, deodorants. I feel like that is like the #1 thing. If you're still using like a regular deodorant with aluminum in it, you have to throw that out now. Like sometimes I'll be like, okay, you can wait till you're done using it and then swap next time, but those are awful. And there are deodorants that do work, I promise you. You won't smell. Like it really does work. They do work. You just have to get the right ones. And then toothpaste is a big one too, so fluoride and all of those things. So we'll go through that. The reason why a lot of these are so horrible is because these chemicals are called endocrine disruptors. So that means they actually disrupt and affect our hormones. And we need our hormones for almost every single process that our body goes through. So we need those to function properly. And when they don't, we start seeing some awful side effects. So known endocrine disruptors that are in these products. I want to go through 6 of the most common ones. And it's not showing up. That's okay. If you guys are writing, no worries. I'll just go through it. Okay. So the first one is bisphenol A, which is BPA. You guys heard of that one? It's a pretty common one. This is commonly found in the lining of canned foods and other food packaging materials, plastic bottles, and actually this is a new one I learned, receipts So if you're asking for receipts or touching that, right, those are lined in BPA. BPA has been linked to breast cancer and other cancers, reproductive fertility issues, and early puberty. Okay, so how can we avoid these? A lot of times there's an option for an emailed receipt, okay? So choosing that option if you can. Avoiding plastics that are marked with PC or the recycle label number 7. That's really specific. Not all of these plastics contain BPA, but most of them do. And then never heating our food in plastic, because what that does is it literally leaches all of those chemicals into our food. So when you're gonna heat your food, the best way is to put it on the stovetop. Like, stop using your microwave. It
Go home and unplug it. Don't even use it.
Yeah, it completely destroys all the nutrients that are in that food anyways, even if you are cooking it. I know it's hard. Just it is difficult when you first make that switch, and it does take longer to heat up food on the stove, but it tastes better and it's better for you. It just kills all the nutrients, so you don't get anything when you microwave it. And then check whether your food or beverage package contains BPA using EWG. How many of you guys have heard of EWG before? So, okay, cool. We'll go over a little bit more, but this is an awesome resource, you guys. Dr. Mike was talking about like memorizing these different names. Like, I don't even know all the different toxins, right? It's a lot. There's so many out there, and the good news is we don't have to do that. And this website, which I'll go over with you guys, is a really good resource to figure out, okay, is this toxic? Does it have BPAs in it? Is it okay for me? Someone's already done the back work for you. Okay, so the second one is phthalates. So these are added to products to make plastic more flexible and harder to break. So another thing with plastics too is typically the thinner the plastic, the more toxic it is. So one place that is pretty common is the caps or the lids for like Starbucks drinks. Right.
As a barista, bring your own cups, because a lot of the times they just pour it straight in and it gets all the microplastic in.
Yeah. So
make sure that doesn't happen.
yes, yeah. So if you're like having your coffee, like we'll order coffee sometimes. We go to this place across the street, Press, and they actually have black lids, which is even worse. Black plastic is the worst. So I never put the lid on. Like I try never to use the lid, or bring your own cup. That's a great advice too. These phthalates are also found in other plastics. So you think about like the toys we give our kids. Like there's these chemicals in these that our kids are playing with. Plastic wraps is a big one too. So studies have connected phthalates to childhood obesity, asthma, cardiovascular issues, cancer, reproductive problems, genital malformations, and undescended testes in baby boys, and low sperm counts, and testosterone levels in adult males. So all the endocrine disrupting issues. So phthalates have to be listed on ingredients unless they're added as part of a scent. So it could just say fragrance on there, but it's really phthalates. So phthalates can be simply labeled as fragrance, even though they could be as much as 20% of that product, which is crazy. So a lot of these chemicals don't even have to necessarily be listed on the products that you're using. So do your research. You can reduce these by avoiding plastic food containers, getting more like wooden toys for your children, and then just getting rid of plastic wraps. There's other ways you can store food in glass containers. That's a better option. And then reading labels. Avoid products that list phthalates, obviously, too. All right. And then the third one is PFAS chemicals. So this is kind of like a family of chemicals and compounds. There's over 4,700 chemicals like in this compound, but these are linked to cancer, thyroid disease, weakened immunity, and developmental defects. So the reason that these ones are such a big deal is because they're also known as forever chemicals. And what that means is they are very difficult to detox out of our body. Like once they're in, they're very difficult. So the goal is to try to avoid these at all costs. The biggest way that we get this into our system is through tap water. So if you guys are going to change anything tonight, do not drink tap water anymore. This is just one thing out of all the, I mean, there's so many things in our tap water, but this is just one of the things that we need to avoid. So Katie's actually here tonight. If you guys have questions about water filters, she's your girl. So go to her. We have to think about the water that we drink, but then also the water that we are using in our house. So the water that we are showering with, that we're bathing our kids with, that we are washing our clothes with, our dishes, our hands every day, right, that we're exposed to. I think you mentioned this, but like when you're in the shower and it's warm, your pores are opening. So you're actually bringing in more of those chemicals. So we invested in like a full home filtration system. So everything, all the water that goes into our home is filtered. And it's worth it, right? And there's other options, like if you're in an apartment or something, you can get like little like shower heads that can just filter the shower. You know, there's other ways. Number one, change the water that you drink, but then also think about what you're putting onto your skin and your body too. Okay, it's a big part of it. Okay, and then avoid brands like, so another one is like Teflon, Scotchgard, Stainmaster. Those type of brands have a lot of these PFAS chemicals in them. Skip the optional like stain repellent on like treatment for carpets and stuff. I know that's hard because you want it to look clean and nice, but there's other ways to clean it. Skip that option because it's going to be in your home. And then cut back on fast food. I would say like stop the fast food, right? All of those packaging and the wrappers, all of that's covered in it. And then another interesting one was popcorn. Who likes popcorn? I do. Yeah, popcorn bags are like lined in this stuff. But you can do the popcorn that you actually make on the stove. You know, it takes way longer, but probably tastes better. You can do that instead and still have popcorn, and you don't have to have PFAS with it, okay? Number 4, okay, atrazine. So this is found in a lot of our corn crops. So it's a weed killer, and corn is literally in so many products. Like if it's like 70% of the products in the grocery store or something crazy like that are like have corn in them. It's higher, yeah. So not only is it GMO'd, but it's sprayed with these pesticides as well. So how to avoid this? Again, it can be in our drinking water. So getting a filter for your drinking water, buying more organic produce always when you can. And then using the EWG. So you can figure out if budget is an issue for you and you can't buy all organic, they have the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen list on the EWG. So it lets you know like, what are the top ones that you should buy organic, that you must buy organic, and then some other produce that you might be okay with not buying organic. And the 5th one is flame retardant. So this one's huge. This is on so many things. So your mattress, your furniture, your foam cushions, baby car seats, that's a big one. Your insulation and your clothing, right? So this one is linked to obviously hormone disruption, cancer, attention deficit disorder, and IQ deficit in children. So flame retardants migrate from products to indoor air, and they actually like stay in our home in like our home dust and like things like that. So you can actually inhale them, ingest them, and then absorb them through your skin as well. So this is a big deal, especially because how many hours do we spend on our mattress, right, of our life? Like, well, you should be like 6 to 8 hours every night, right, sleeping. So this would be the first place. If I was going to change anything, I'm not telling you guys to get rid of all your furniture, right? But if I were to change one thing, it would be like what I'm sleeping on every night. So your pillows and your mattress. Yeah, good one. So we actually just came across pretty recently.
Yeah.
A mattress, and I'm blanking on the name of it, BioPosture, and you can have the option of not spraying it with flame retardants, and it's a non-toxic mattress. It's super comfortable. It's amazing. If you guys are interested in that, yes, we can actually get you a really good deal on it. So just let us know if you are. But we just recently changed that, and I love it. So that would be the first step. And then the last one I want to talk about is I can't even say this name. Percolate. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. This is a component of rocket fuel and is an endocrine disruptor. And the reason that this one is so bad is it interferes with our thyroid function. It competes with the nutrient iodine. So the thyroid needs iodine to make more thyroid hormone for your body. And these hormones regulate our metabolism, so many things in our body. And they're critical for proper brain development and organ development in infants and children. So this is competing with that chemical, which is creating a whole issue of things. So ways to avoid this, again, we find this a lot in our tap water. So getting reverse osmosis is like one of the best ways to filter out a lot of this stuff. But then with that as well, you want to make sure you're adding back in minerals because it'll take that out too. And then avoiding food with it in it as well. And then also making sure that you're eating food that has iodine in it, because this perchlorate is kind of hard to avoid. Like we're going to get some of it in our food. So just making sure we have food sources that have iodine in it to help regulate that. Okay, toxins in the kitchen is next. So this is a big one. Again, cleaners. So dishwasher soap, dish soap, hand soap, what you clean your floors and your counters with is huge. Fragrances, phthalates, and ammonia are in a lot of those things. A really good one for like a bleach replacement is, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on the name.
Force of nature.
Thank you. Force of nature. So this stuff is incredible. I'm going to read you guys a little bit about it. It actually is a better option than bleach, like because it works better, but then it doesn't have that same effect where it can take color out of fabrics. So you can actually use it on porous material like a rug or carpet or something, but it has the same like effects. So I'll kind of read you guys a little bit about it. It's not the same as bleach, but it has a different chemical component, and it's called hypochlorous acid, and that's the good stuff, the force of nature, sorry. And this same substance it's the same substance that your white blood cells produce to fight infection. So it's very gentle on our bodies, but also more natural. So it's so gentle, and it's actually used for wound healing, eye care, and veterinarian care products. Bleach is a high concentrate enough to remove the color from fabric, and none of these apply to the hydrochlorous acid. So that's a pretty cool fact, because it's super antimicrobial power is actually higher than bleach itself, which is amazing, because a lot of times that was like my number one thing. I feel like I could change all my other cleaners, but bleach for me was like the one thing I was still kind of hanging on to, even though it's probably the worst one out of all of them, right? Super bad for you. You know, if something can't get on your skin, that's probably a sign that you shouldn't be around that chemical, right? So that's a really, really good one, force of nature, if you guys are changing that. Storage containers, we talked about this a little bit, changing those to glass. One thing, so I feel like every time we do this every year, there's something I realize that's in our house that we've been doing. I'm like, oh, we could probably change that and do a little bit better. We were using a lot of like plastic baggies for like food storage. And I'm like, wow, we use these so much. So that's something that we've like started changing. We got the silicone bags from Costco, so you can actually like reuse those. And I don't suggest, obviously, like heating those up. If you're going to heat anything, you want to make sure it's glass. But it's a better option than those thin plastic baggies. We were just kind of putting like, I don't know, cheese or like an apple or something in there that we didn't eat all of it. And so we were using way too many of those. So switching that as well. Our pots and pans are a huge one. So Teflon, aluminum, those are awful chemicals for you, and you're literally heating up your food and putting that right into your food and eating that. So switching your pots and pans is huge. We use Caraway, which is a good brand. I think they're like a ceramic, but they're non-stick, which is nice, but it's like the non-toxic non-stick. Another good option would be like a cast iron pan, or a more inexpensive option would be like stainless steel. Those do stick a little bit, but you're not getting the toxins, so pick your battles, you know? And then watching like the cooking utensils too. So we had changed our pots and pans a while ago, but then we were still cooking with like a plastic spatula, right? So it's the same kind of thing, like that's heating up. If your spatula looks like it's melting, like that's probably not a good idea. So we switched to like wooden spatulas and spoons and everything. So that's a really good option too. And then our food, Dr. Mike went over that a little bit as well. That's a huge toxin. And then the coffee maker as well, which I don't see my picture. Did you talk about what we use now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right,
Oh,
and
no.
then what?
Did I talk about coffee maker?
No.
Yeah.
So what we use now?
Yeah, we switched to a glass pour over, and then we use like a stainless steel just thing to heat the water. So you just push a button, it heats the water up to stainless steel. We now pour into a stainless steel filter. So again, saving money. I'm not buying filters all the time. It's a stainless steel filter. Put the coffee in, and it goes into a glass container. So everything is glass or stainless steel.
Yeah.
So much, much better.
Yeah, and it tastes better too.
Yeah.
Pour over. It takes a little bit longer to make, but it tastes really good. Right? She has some coffee on her house
That's
the other day. Okay, awesome. So I just wanted to show you guys this real quick because it's so crazy how toxins are, you're literally like, babies are toxic before they're even born now, because a lot of these toxins are passing the placenta barrier, and babies are being born with these chemicals already in their blood. They've been exposed, so they did a study where they found that newborns were tested and they were exposed to, they had already been exposed to 287 toxins out of 413 that they were testing, which is so crazy to me. And an average of 200 toxins were found per baby, and 101 toxins were found in all of the babies. And these were brand new. So not only are these decisions we're making like affecting us, but like our future generations as well, because we're like already passing this on to kids, which blows my mind, and affecting their nervous system development too. So next one is the laundry room. This is a big one too. So detergents, there's lots of options for those to switch. It took us a little bit of time to find a good one. I feel like we were, I don't know, like our clothes just like weren't getting clean as well, but we've found some good ones now that work well. And then bleach, a good one for that is Branch Basics Oxygen Boost. That's my favorite one for like clothes, like getting clothes a little bit cleaner and whiter. And then stain removers as well. One of my favorites is Puracy. So I want to make a statement too. We put a lot of like companies listed on those toxic sheets that you guys scanned in the beginning. So Puracy, for instance, don't always think that like, oh, because they said it's good, like Puracy's good, right? Forever. A lot of small companies, unfortunately, can get bought out by larger companies. So an example of that is Tom's. There are some good products in Tom's still, so don't get me wrong, but Tom's makes a toothpaste with fluoride now, and they never used to. So if you just are like always trusting in a company, then sometimes you'll just look at be like, oh my God, how did fluoride get in here all of a sudden, right? So just keep paying attention to that and do your own research, figure out what works best for you guys. As of now, I really like the company Puracy for like all my laundry stuff, stain removers, cleaners, and then Branch Basics for the whites. Okay, and then this was the EWG resources. This is what I was talking about. So you can literally, if you guys get the app, you can scan your current products and it'll give it on a scale of 1 to 5 if it's good or not. Like if there's toxic chemicals in there or not. And what I also like about it is you can go online, and if you're like, okay, what toothpaste should I get or what deodorant should I get, you can go online and figure out what is the best approved. If it's approved by the EWG, I do trust it. And they go through all the different ingredients and everything. So this is a great resource for you to look up things. Don't necessarily, like you can ask us what we use, but there might be a better product out there, right? That we just haven't researched yet. So great resource for you guys. And then, yeah, again, if there's anything I didn't mention, I know it's a lot, come find me afterwards and I'll answer your questions best I can. Thank you. Woo!
All right, last couple things. Don't be stressed. Just kidding. Stress management. So the reason why stress is on here is stress is a emotional toxin to the body. Here's how this shuts down your body. Ready? Boom. Did you get? Oh, nope, not yet. Not the good stuff. All right, stress is responsible for 90% of sickness and disease. Here's how this happens and why. There's a guy named Bruce Lipton. If you ever want to go look up his stuff, he will explain this in a much more phenomenal way. But basically what happens is that when your body goes into stress, we go into something called fight or flight. When we are in fight or flight, what happens, your body produces stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. And those are good in short term. Like if I'm trying to get away from danger, right? My body goes into a stress response. My body shunts blood to my muscles, my arms, my legs, so I can get away from danger. But here's the thing, if I'm running away from a bad guy, my body is not concerned with digesting food, not concerned with processing hormones. So the problem is that when I'm in chronically a fight or flight state, my digestion goes to garbage, my immune system goes down, all of these processes of the body suppress when you're living in fight or flight. The problem is that most of us wake up and we pull our phones out and we're on fight or flight with emails, and we do this until we go to bed. Like we're literally in bed doing this until we go to bed. And you're living in a fight or flight state. Do you guys see how toxic that becomes? So we need to make sure that stress is coming down. So how do you help with this? Obviously you don't get away from stress, but how do you help with this? A couple of peace management tools that I feel like works for us. One of them I'm going to talk about is war planning your week. My wife and I call this war planning. On Sundays we get together and we literally plan out the entire week. And we go through this. She knows where I'm going to be every second of the week. I know what she's going to, back and forth. Everything is planned out. And the reason why this is good is because I don't have to think about anything during the week. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know when I'm going to work out. I know when I'm going to meal prep. I know when I'm going to do nothing. Yes, there's times you have to plan nothing, where you need to like just say, hey, this hour of the day, I'm going to sit outside in the sun and I'm going to shut my brain off. And like that has to get planned because I know a lot of you guys, and if you don't plan it, guess what? It doesn't happen, okay? You gotta plan this stuff in the system. So war planning your week. This even goes ahead to like picking your clothes out the night before. How many of you guys stand there in the closet in the morning and like for like 20 minutes, you're like, oh, I know, yeah, it's nice, right? That's helpful. But like, you think about like just little things. What are the little things you can do to help yourself to just bring that back down? Quality time with family is huge. Gratitude, waking up and just spending time with the Lord, spending time in gratitude. Like those are huge things to just wake up and do first thing, right? Then we look at the 3 T's. These are 3 things that made a difference for me. So what I do is, first 3 things I do are list 3 things I'm grateful for. I list 3 affirmations that I believe about myself. Here's why I do that, FYI, is because all day long, culture is going to be trying to tell you who you are. So before the day starts, I'm going to tell myself who I am before I let culture do it, right? There's that. Then my last 3 are going to be 3 needle movers for me for the day. What are 3 things that I'm going to do today that's going to make my life go in a positive direction? And that might be something big, like make sure I reach out to this business to whatever. Or it might be something small, like, hey, spend 10 minutes with my son outside and play. Right? But like, what are 3 things that you're going to do that's going to move the needle forward for you? Okay? 3 things, 3 gratitude statements, 3 affirming statements, 3 needle movers. Those are the foundation of my morning, most mornings. Then, technology detox. How many times have we seen this? Oh, yeah. So this is my biggest pet peeve. Like when we go out to the restaurant, sometimes I just get so frustrated when you see this, right? And the problem is a lot of this happens in our homes. Let's call it what it is. And the idea is this: how do we avoid this? How do we get rid of this? Technology, I think, was created with a good purpose, but it was designed to connect us, and all it has done is disconnect us, right? And we look at what this does is that we've seen it. Like, how many times you're with your friend and they're just on their phone, and you want to like slap that thing out of their face because you're like, hey, pay attention to me, right? And we start looking at this. This can become very toxic. So what I'm going to tell you guys is this: do a technology detox. How many times have you guys gone on a weekend camping, or you got up in the mountains, you went somewhere where you didn't have service, and it was the best freaking weekend of your life, right? Here's what I'm going to tell you. You don't have to get up in the mountains to do it. Just turn your phone off for a weekend, right? And pretend you're in the mountains. Just close everything, turn it off. Like for the month of January, we told my son that the TV was broke. There was no TV for the whole month of January. And every time he said he wanted to watch a show, I was like, I'm sorry, buddy, the TV's broke. And we had no TV for the whole month. And guess what? We actually played games. We chased around the house. We got outside. We did so much connecting stuff, and it was beautiful. And I really want to unplug that thing now because of how much better we became as a family when we took it away, right? Like this next coming weekend, turn your phones off and say, hey, this is my time with my family. Like this Easter weekend, for God's sakes, just disconnect. Is that cool? Can we do that? Just disconnect and be present. It'll be so much better. Okay, last piece is keeping your spine aligned. Here's how this is so important. Most of you guys are here. You're doing this, which is fantastic. But this is why this is so important, because liver, important for a detox, right? Gallbladder has important properties. Kidneys has important properties. All these organs have important properties to allow your body to detox. But here's the thing we forget. So all of these things are important, but what we forget is that all of these things are regulated by the nervous system. All those things are controlled by the brain and the nervous system. And the function and the health of brain and nervous system is dependent upon alignment of spine. If your spine is what's protecting spinal cord and nervous system, spinal alignment then dictates the health of detox organs. You want to detox well, make sure that your brain can effectively do its job and send the right signals to the body to detox. Do you guys see how that connects there? This is so huge. This is why there's been so many times where I have patients who have had constipation issues, or kids who had constipation issues, and we just get them adjusted, and all of a sudden they start clearing out and their bowels free up. And they're like, how did that happen? Like, your body's functioning the way that God intended it to, right? You didn't need anything extra. We just need to get back in alignment. So getting adjusted, staying well aligned, this is a very, very important piece to all this, because you can switch all your products and you can change the food and you can do all that. But if your spine is a wreck and your brain cannot regulate the detox properties, do you guys see how we're still behind the boat? So we got to make sure that this is in alignment, and this needs, just like I think all the things we talked about tonight, changing your products, this is like I call it the infinity principle. This is like the forever game, because forever they're going to keep throwing chemicals in our stuff. So forever we're going to have to be aware of our chemical products. Forever, you're going to have to be aware of the food that you're putting in your body. Forever, watching your stress. Taking care of your spine is a forever thing that we do, because there's never going to be a moment that we're going to just have no stress on our body whatsoever. Do you guys see how that works? So all the things we talked about tonight, remember, do what you can. If you can't control it, let it go. And the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is this next upcoming event is not warning signs. The next upcoming event is not that lady. Skipping her too. Here we go. And didn't even save it. Wonderful. So next upcoming event is one of my best friends. I have the opportunity to be best friends with my pastor. Not a lot of people can say that, but he is my ride or die. If I need anything, I call this man. He lifts me up. He makes me better. And he is moving to lead a church out in Mississippi, and I mean, super awesome. That church is so lucky and blessed. We are doing an event with him before he leaves, him and his wife, here on April 20th. It's called Hope for Healing. I would not miss this event. This whole point of this purpose of this event is to bring the Holy Spirit in this room. He's going to be up here preaching an incredible message on health and hope, and his wife's going to be up here singing live worship. I guarantee you're not going to want to miss that. We're going to have prayer warriors lining this whole office to pray over you. Like, Holy Spirit is going to be live and well in this place on the 20th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. here. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this event. So be here for that. That's our next thing. So clear your calendars. And the other thing I'm going to ask you is be there, but also there are people that are struggling right now, and you know that, and they're hurting and they need prayer or they need a community. Bring them to this event. What better way to bring them in a space where it is going to be just an open environment to feel the Lord and to be prayed over and to have an encouraging word. Like, have them here. There's no fee whatsoever. We are just opening our doors to make people feel Jesus. Amen? So be here for that. Bring people. I pray that this place is like packed to the max, so that way we can really change some lives that night. Amen? Love you guys. You have a wonderful night.